Cool it!
Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
TV shows had moral lessons, theme songs you could hum in your sleep, and characters who made you want to buy a leather jacket even if you couldn't ride a bike. Yes, those were good days. See what I did there? It started as a single episode hidden inside an anthology series and somehow became one of the most famous sitcoms of the 70s and 80s. But behind the jukeboxes, the sock hops, and the endless A's, there was a lot you probably did not know. From draft delays and missing brothers or sisters to time travel ideas and talking dogs. Today, we are counting down 15 strange, wild, and completely true facts about Happy Days, the show that made Milwaukee feel cool and turned a simple sitcom into a pop culture 50s time capsule. So press the like button, subscribe if you have not, and let's start with Number 1. Fonzie's leather jacket was a constant fight with censors. Here's something that will make you understand how much TV has changed. ABC's Standards and Practices Department first did not allow Fonzie to wear his leather jacket because they believed it made him look like a juvenile delinquent. That is why he appeared in a windbreaker in the earlier seasons.
Hi, Fonzie.
To network censors in the 1970s, a leather jacket almost screamed motorcycle gang, knife fights, and the fall of American youth. Which to me is funny when you remember that Fonzie was the guy who fixed jukeboxes, taught life lessons, and helped kids learn everything about the letter A.
E.
The compromise was that Fonzie could only wear his leather jacket if he was on or very close to his motorcycle, because that made it seem practical, you know, for safety reasons.
Hey, this is a very nice place you got here.
This led to some of the most creative set design in sitcom history. Need Fonzie to wear his jacket? Then you better park that motorcycle somewhere nearby. At Arnold's, there's a bike sitting just outside the window. At school, Fonzie's bike somehow is just hanging out in the hallway. And at a family dinner at the Cunningham's house, yes, there is a Harley in the living room. Okay, I made some of these examples up, but you understand the idea. Eventually, Fonzie's popularity made the whole argument useless. The censors gave up, the jacket stayed on, and the country somehow survived the cultural danger of a nice guy wearing cowhide. Number 2. Chuck Cunningham disappeared so completely that he became a TV trope.
See, I'm changing my free throw from an underhand to an overhand. Looks better for the fans.
Let's talk about one of television's biggest unsolved mysteries. What really happened to Chuck Cunningham, Richie's older brother, who appeared for 2 seasons and then disappeared more completely than a witness in a mob movie? Chuck did not just leave, he was erased. There was no goodbye episode, no explanation that he joined the army, no story about him moving away to college. One day he was there, and the next day, poof, the Cunningham family suddenly had only 2 kids, and it was as if Chuck had never existed at all.
What can I say? Both of our children are married now, and they're starting out to build lives of their own.
Both children. Poor Chuck. He was first played by Gavin O'Herlihy, who left after season 1 and later said he did not want to play a character who only grunted and bounced a basketball once every few weeks, and honestly, that is fair. Randolph Roberts took over the role in season 2, but the character still did not connect with audiences. At the same time, Fonzie's cool charm was taking all the attention, and the writers realized they did not need 2 Cunningham sons, so they made a choice and never looked back. Chuck's disappearance became so famous that it created an entire TV trope called Chuck Cunningham syndrome, which is used when a character vanishes from a show without any explanation and the series acts like they never existed. More than 50 years later, Chuck is still the gold standard for TV disappearing acts. He is the godfather of being gone, if you will. A reminder that sometimes the biggest impact a character can make is how completely they are forgotten. Number 3. Ron Howard almost said no. By the time Happy Days came calling, Ron Howard had already played the wholesome TV son role. He was Opie, America's favorite sweet kid next door.
What it is, Pa, is that nowadays kids get 75 cents a week allowance instead of 25 cents.
America loved him, but Ron was ready to move on. He had been accepted to USC Film School and was making short films on the weekends. He had already mastered the aw shucks routine on camera. Now he wanted to be the one calling the shots behind it. So when Gary Marshall offered him the role of Richie Cunningham, Howard basically said, no thanks. He was not really excited to get locked into another sitcom. But then real life threw in a plot twist, the draft. His number was low enough to make things complicated. Enter the ultimate TV loophole, a work deferment. Back then, if your job supported at least 30 people, you could apply to skip the draft. A network sitcom definitely qualified. So Ron agreed to do the pilot, which aired in 1972 as a segment called Love and the Happy Days on the anthology series Love American Style.
Today's a big day. We're going to be the first family on the block to get a television set. My sister has to tell everybody, but I only told my best friend, Potsy.
Open the door, Richard.
Hey, Potsy. My mom didn't like you climbing through there.
By the time Happy Days officially premiered in 1974, the draft was no longer a worry, and film school was off the table too. Howard stayed on the show, and Gary Marshall kept his promise. He gave Ron access behind the scenes and helped him start a directing career while the cameras were still rolling. That second career turned out very well because Ron Howard went on to direct Splash, Cocoon, Parenthood, Backdraft, Apollo 13, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Frost Nixon, and even Solo, a Star Wars story. And in 2001, he won 2 Academy Awards for A Beautiful Mind, Best Director and Best Picture. From Milkshakes to Best Director, that is one amazing career journey. Number 4. Fonzie wasn't supposed to be the main character. At first, the character was called Arthur Masciarelli, or MASH for short, which was a nod to creator Gary Marshall's family name. But ABC thought it sounded too much like MASH, which was already a big hit on another network, so they wanted something catchier. The name Fonzie was a last-minute change that ended up becoming TV legend. And the character? He was never meant to be the star. Fonzie started as a background character, a cool guy in a leather jacket who gave Richie Cunningham a little edge. He was Milwaukee's answer to a pet tiger, cool to show off, but kept on a leash. But then something changed. We all saw Henry Winkler snap his fingers and say, "Hey!" And the whole country fell in love. Fan mail started pouring in, and ratings went up every time he was on screen.
Fonz, we like sticks a lot, you know that. It's the kids down at Arnold's, they don't understand. They think there's only 2 different kinds of people, white and colored.
There are 2 kinds of people, cool and nerds, and the people down at Arnold's are nerds.
Producers realized they weren't just looking at a scene stealer, they were looking at the future of the show. So they made the shift. Little by little, the focus moved from Richie's coming-of-age stories to Fonzie's adventures. At one point, ABC got so bold, they seriously thought about renaming the show Fonzie's Happy Days, or just plain Fonzie. Gary Marshall and Ron Howard said, "Nope, and we're ready to walk." That idea was shut down quickly, but by then the message was clear. This wasn't Richie Cunningham's show anymore. It was Fonzie's world, and everyone else was just hanging out in it. Number 5. Henry Winkler was terrified of motorcycles. Here's something that would have completely ruined the Fonzie image if we had known back then. Henry Winkler, the guy who made leather jackets and motorcycles look like the perfect combo, was actually scared of motorcycles. Not just a little, full-on cold sweat, no way, not happening kind of fear. Okay, maybe I exaggerated a little, but you get the idea. It's pretty funny when you think about it, because Fonzie without a motorcycle is like Batman without the Batmobile. The crew had to get really creative. Most of those riding scenes, that was either a stuntman or the bike being pulled by a truck while Winkler just sat on it pretending to ride. And those close-ups, the bike wasn't even moving, just a stationary shot with the background rolling behind him. Winkler has joked that he could never figure out the clutch, and he wasn't willing to crash for the sake of method acting, which is fair. So next time you see Fonzie revving the engine and cruising like the king of cool, just remember, behind the scenes, there was a guy hoping the bike didn't tip over. Kinda makes you respect the performance even more, right? Number 6. Happy Days almost got canceled until Fonzie and a live audience saved it. It's crazy to think about now, but Happy Days was really close to being canceled after season 2. The The ratings were low, the energy was off, and the show just wasn't connecting. ABC was ready to pull the plug. And honestly, the early seasons did feel kind of flat.
Thought you'd never get here.
What's up? I got the message.
Not now, later.
Right now, Ralph Malph's gonna show us his hickey. Huh? Come on.
Where'd you get it?
It was filmed in a single-camera style with canned laughter, no live audience, and very little energy. The timing felt stiff, and the comedy didn't really work. It was like watching a nostalgia show that hadn't yet decided what it wanted to be. Then Season 3 came along, and two things saved the show. First, they added a live studio audience. That one change made a huge difference. Suddenly, the actors had real people to perform for. The jokes landed better, and the energy became contagious.
And second, they focused more on the breakout star, Fonzie. Henry Winkler completely came alive with a live audience. The Fonzie we all remember, the guy who could walk into Arnold's, raise an eyebrow, and steal the scene, didn't really come to life until he had a crowd reacting to him.
Now listen, this is your big chance. Nobody knows you up there.
Right.
At all costs, do not be yourself.
Oh, we're not Fonzie.
That applause when he snapped his fingers and girls appeared? Well, that wasn't sound editing. That was real. And it gave the show the spark it had been missing. Between the live audience and Fonzie's rising popularity, Happy Days went from almost being canceled to one of the biggest shows on TV, reaching #1 in the Nielsen ratings for the 1976-77 season. It also ran for 9 more seasons. Not bad for a show that almost didn't survive its first 2 seasons at all. Number 7. Tom Hanks guest starred as a karate chopping rival. Have you ever watched something years later and thought, wait, is that Tom Hanks? Well, if you saw the 1982 Happy Days episode, A Little Case of Revenge, you probably had that exact reaction. Before he was Forrest Gump or winning Oscars left and right, Tom Hanks appeared on Happy Days as Dwayne Twitchell, a karate black belt out for revenge. His problem? Fonzie supposedly pushed him off a swing when they were kids. So naturally, fully grown and very dramatic, Dwayne came to Milwaukee looking for revenge. Because nothing says reasonable adult behavior like holding a childhood grudge and solving it with martial arts. Fonzie, in true Fonzie style, refuses to fight. He handles it with compassion, grace, and just enough cool to walk away looking like the real winner.
You did. You stood up to the front. I like that. You got guts.
I do?
Yeah, you never got killed, but you got guts.
And here's the kicker. This small, quirky role actually helped launch Hank's career. Ron Howard remembered him later when casting Splash for Disney. And just like that, Tom Hanks was officially on his way to becoming a national treasure. So yeah, Fonzie may have defeated a karate master with kindness, but Happy Days helped give the world Tom Hanks. I'd say that's a win.
Number 8. The show literally invented jumping the shark. Now, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, jumping the shark, right? Well, Happy Days was the original show for that. It came from a Season 5 episode where Fonzie water skis over a shark in swim trunks in California, because why not?
He's ready to make the jump.
The episode, called Hollywood Part 3, was supposed to be a big finale to a multi-part storyline. Instead, it became famous for all the wrong reasons.
The phrase jumping the shark was coined years later by writer John Heaney and his college roommate to describe when a show hits the panic button and tries to keep viewers watching with pure nonsense. What's wild is that Happy Days went on for 6 more seasons, and many of those episodes were still hits, so even if it jumped the shark, the show kept swimming. Today, the shark jumping moment is more famous for what it represents than for what actually happened. It's like visiting a pop culture landmark, not because it's impressive, but because you've heard about it your whole life. Quick poll time. Who do you think was the coolest character on Happy Days? Fonzie with his perfect hair and leather jacket, Richie with his earnest charm, or maybe Potsy with his, well, his enthusiasm? Drop your pick in the comments below. And hey, if you're loving these nostalgic deep dives into classic TV, smash that like button and subscribe. We share weird facts and forgotten stories every week because apparently this is what we do now. Now let's head back to number 9. Happy Days was actually kind of a spinoff. So, remember that little story from Love American Style we mentioned earlier? Well, the plot was about the Cunninghams getting their first TV set, an event so huge in 1950 suburbia that it instantly made Richie the most popular kid on the block. He even tried to use it to impress a girl named Arlene. Spoiler alert, Richie's TV stunt didn't exactly win her over. Ann Williams played Potsy in the pilot. Marion Ross was Mrs. Cunningham, but there were no leather jackets, no motorcycle engines, and definitely no A. Oh, and Richie's dad, that wasn't Tom Bosley. It was Harold Gould, who later became better known as Rose's sweet-talking boyfriend, Miles, on The Golden Girls. And Joni? She was played by Susan Nair before Erin Moran made the role iconic.
Oh, great. The only vet I'll win is the prettiest father.
Listen, Dad, I can take her.
The pilot was cute, but it didn't really make an impact until a little movie called American Graffiti came out and made the 1950s cool again. Suddenly, ABC executives were digging through their vaults thinking, wait, don't we have something like this? All they needed was a side character with just enough swagger to balance out all the sweetness, and in 1974, Happy Days came to life. TV historians still debate whether it counts as a true spin-off since the final show was so different, but evolution is part of television, and in this case, it turned a one-off nostalgia piece into something iconic. And in a strange twist of fate, a quiet story about a kid trying to impress a girl with his family's new TV ended up giving America one of the most beloved shows of the 70s and early 80s. Number 10. Fonzie's hair was never combed on camera. One of Fonzie's greatest superpowers was his perfect hair. It was always flawless and always in place. But here's the funny part. He never actually combed it on camera. At most, you'd see him take out a comb, look in the mirror, give a little nod, and put it right back. That was the joke. His hair was so perfect that it didn't need any help. The bit got big laughs from the live audience over multiple seasons and quickly became a Fonzie trademark. Henry Winkler later explained that he insisted Fonzie never be shown actually combing his hair. Why? Because greasers in pop culture were always fussing with their hair, and Winkler didn't want Fonzie to look like just another hood. So, on the spot, he made up the gag, and the audience loved it. It wasn't just funny, it helped turn Fonzie into a legend. He didn't just look cool, he was cool on a supernatural level. The bit was so iconic that Henry Winkler even spoofed it years later on Arrested Development.
We're going to take a scenic drive down to the city of industry.
Behind the scenes, of course, it was a different story. That effortless look required serious work, lots of time in the makeup chair, and constant touch-ups. But on screen, the illusion was never broken. Even his comb stayed clean. Remember when Fonzie told Richie, "I've had this comb for 9 years and it's never touched my hair"? Now that's true commitment to cool. Number 11. Pat Morita left for a flop of a spin-off. Well, actually 2 flops. Before he became Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita was a familiar face on 2 major sitcoms at the same time. From 1974 to 1976, he played Ah Chew on Sanford and Son, Lamont's good-natured buddy who appeared in several episodes.
Hey, the place looks nice. Yeah, this ain't bad for 3 days' work, huh?
And starting in 1975, he also worked behind the counter at Arnold's Drive-In on Happy Days as Matsuo Arnold Takahashi. Morita quickly became a fan favorite, so when he left after season 3 to star in his own show, Mr. T and Tina, it felt like a big move. Unfortunately, the show flopped. It lasted only 5 episodes before being taken off the air. Then came another try, a Happy Days spin-off called Blansky's Beauties, starring Nancy Walker.
Oh, the girls aren't here.
Yeah, I know. They're upstairs rehearsing.
So why'd you bring the coffee?
Oh, well, the girls can't drink hot coffee and dance at the same time.
That one flopped too.
That one flopped too. Strike 1, strike 2.
But Arnold wasn't gone just yet. After both failures, Morita returned to Happy Days in season 10. And while the show had moved on just fine with Al running the diner, fans were happy to see Arnold back behind the counter again. He was one of those characters who added a little extra spark to every scene. And of course, just a couple of years later, Morita landed the role that changed everything, Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. From sitcom side character to Oscar nominee, now that's how you make a comeback. Number 12. Gary Marshall told Potsy to get a day job. Anson Williams played Potsy Weber, Richie's wide-eyed best friend who sang a little, goofed a lot, and never really escaped sidekick status. But behind the scenes, Gary Marshall didn't exactly see him as a lifelong leading man. According to Williams, Marshall once pulled him aside and said, "Most of you won't be actors all your lives, especially you, Anson." Honest, but also kind of encouraging, in the most Gary Marshall way.
We sure are. Well, you're good friends, huh? You're all mentioned in my will.
Don't talk about that.
We don't care about a will.
What do I get?
See, Marshall wasn't trying to be cruel. He actually mentored a lot of the Happy Days cast and encouraged them to treat the Paramount lot like a college. He'd say, "Learn everything you can because this business is bigger than acting," and Anson listened. After Happy Days, he had some guest spots on shows like Baywatch, Murder, She Wrote, and LA Law. But his real career shift came behind the camera. Williams built a long, successful run as a TV director, working on Beverly Hills 90210, Melrose Place, Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager, Xena, Warrior Princess and Hercules, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Seventh Heaven, and The Secret Life of the American Teenager. So yeah, Gary's advice might have stung, but it helped Potsy find his real groove. Number 13. Theme song.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
Here's the twist. This wasn't even the original theme. Season 1 opened with Rock Around the Clock, but by Season 3, Happy Days, written by Charles Fox and Norman Gimbel and performed by Pratt and McLean, became the official theme and a legit Billboard hit, reaching number 5 in 1976.
Goodbye, gray sky, hello blue. There's nothing can hold me when I hold you.
It was musical comfort food, pure 1950s fantasy wrapped in 1970s optimism. Simple lyrics, a bouncy rhythm, and a vibe so wholesome you could bottle it and sell it at a soda fountain. The theme was even re-recorded in Season 11 with Bobby Arvin on vocals.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
And get this, the song even showed up in a Target ad decades later. By that point, Happy Days was less a theme song and more a time machine.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
But let's be real, nothing beats the original one from back in the day.
These happy days are yours and mine. Happy.
Number 14. A monkey almost played Fonzie.
Hey, we're the Monkees, and people say we monkey around.
So get this, Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees almost played Fonzie. Yeah, imagine the loudest, goofiest member of the Prefab Four sliding into Arnold's, giving double thumbs up and yelling, "Hey!"
Oh, ow! Oh, you're through this time. The jig is up. You're washed up.
That almost happened. Dolenz actually auditioned for the role and was a strong contender. He had the TV skills, the charm, the comic timing, and of course, the signature hair. But at 6 feet tall, he was just too tall next to Ron Howard. The producers didn't want Fonzie towering over Richie like some kind of greaser giraffe. So the role went to Henry Winkler instead, who was 5'6" and could still own every room he walked into without overshadowing the rest of the cast. Now, we're not saying Dolenz would have been a bad Fonzie, just a very different one. Louder, goofier, and probably with a lot more pratfalls. Less cool guy, more class clown. In the end, it all worked out. Winkler became Fonzie, and America got the version of Happy Days we all remember.
Number 15. Happy Days spawned a time-traveling cartoon. Just when you thought Happy Days had already jumped the shark, along came the Fonz and the Happy Days gang in a Saturday morning cartoon. In it, Fonzie, Richie, and Ralph Mouth travel through time with a girl from the future named Cupcake and a talking dog named Mr. Cool. Yes, really. Someone in charge looked at a show about 1950s nostalgia and thought, you know what? This needs time travel.
The cartoon ran from 1980 to 1982 and followed the gang as they bounced through different points in history with a futuristic girl named Cupcake while trying to get back to 1957. It was like Quantum Leap meets Scooby-Doo, but with more Padawans and way less logic. And believe it or not, Henry Winkler, Ron Howard, and Donnie Most actually voiced their animated selves. That's right, this wasn't just a knockoff. The original actors showed up and gave it their all. Well, sort of. Notably missing was Potsy. Apparently, time travel just wasn't his thing. Now, why does this cartoon even exist? Don't worry about it. How did Fonzie stay cool in prehistoric times? Because he's Fonzie. And why a talking dog? Because it was Saturday morning in the 80s. There had to be a talking dog. It was the law. The Fonz and the Happy Days gang was pure cartoon chaos. A show that made no sense on paper, but somehow still got made. And honestly, we kind of loved that it did. Because if anyone could survive time travel, a sci-fi robot, and an anthropomorphic dog, it was the Fonz. And hey, there you have it. 15 weird facts about the show that made Milwaukee the coolest city in America. Which facts surprised you the most? Which ones do we miss? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more nostalgic TV deep dives. Until next time.